Hello, hello. Just let a few more you all come in. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Let's turn this music down. All right, y'all, let's get into this. As you come in, make sure you pay your fee, entertainers, and hit that like button. If you're following me on YouTube, if you're following me on Twitter, please hit that heart. And if you're following me on Twitch, do what you do over there. All right. We have a lot to discuss and to possibly read. And I want to do that for you. But first, let's get some background information. If you all are not familiar, uh, uh, of the Blake Lively Justin Baldoni case, the ends with us case. If you are not familiar, Blake Lively back in December 12/20 sued Justin Baldoni for harassment and abuse, SA and SH, in the United States Federal Court of the Southern District of New York. Uh, After that, Justin Baldoni filed a lawsuit against the New York Times for defamation, libel, and slander. Then, after that, uh, Justin Baldoni sued Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and her PR firm. Blake Lively countersued and sued Justin Baldoni, the whole Wayfarer crew, and all of this other stuff. So it has been a big back and forth since December. There have been a lot of different filings, motions to dismiss, and I think we're still working through those things. But one of the things that had come out of through this whole debacle is the fact that when Ryan Reynolds was working on Deadpool and Wolverine, there was a character called Nice Pool. And from my understanding, that this character does not exist in the Marvel universe, whether it's from comics or anywhere. And we find out later that Ryan Reynolds has a history of mocking people that has some disdain for, subtly, in different movies or different productions that he's doing. If he is doing a stand-up sit, he has ability to mock people in there. If he's any project that he's doing, he has issues in that regard. He has a very dry, and it has been described as a wicked sense of humor. Other castmates on the show have stated that he has had castmates that will not return because of that type of humor. And as we were watching the Deadpool scene, as it hit, has it been resurrected, and all of these other Deadpool movies that have been making Marvel a good little chunk of change, we find out that pretty much on every one of those movies, after the first movie, the initial director refused to work with Ryan Reynolds, and then I think in the second movie, one of the castmates, the one that played the bartender, where Deadpool went to go drink, he didn't want to work over there anymore. So there was just a lot of string of stuff going on behind the scenes in regards to that. So you say, Pam, well, what does that have to do with Marvel? Let's get back to the character, because you remember I told you that Justin Baldoni is suing Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and her PR company. Well, part of that lawsuit was the fact that they found out, and also this is also found out, discussed in Ryan Reynolds' motion to dismiss this case, that the Nice Pool character was mocking Justin Baldoni. And so Ryan Reynolds was admitted that in his lawsuit in his motion to dismiss, that the character was pinned around Justin Baldoni because they didn't like he didn't like him, and he felt like he could be able to pick at him, and then what is old Justin going to do? And back before that motion of dismiss, I had said that, Marvel don't want to be involved in this mess because, if they do a discovery and pulling documents on how Ryan Reynolds crafted this nice pool character, Marvel doesn't want people in that whole process because it might be something else going on in that whole process. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm just saying they want to be able to keep that information as far as their proprietary information on how the process for their characters. They probably want to keep it close to vest, and this is kind of upending that. So what has happened? Well, again, I told you that Justin Baldoni back in January or February sent a letter to the judge requesting that Marvel give that information up. So we see a couple of days ago, Marvel has asked the judge to quash the request. And so we're going to go over that document. It's about 15 pages. But to give you some clarity about what's going on, I gave you an overview. But I like to hold on. Let me get the. Here we go. Just two little articles that I wanted to go over. And again, make sure y'all hit that like button. All right, here we go. All right, so this is by E! News, written by Will Reed. It says Marvel asked to be removed from Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni's legal battle over Nice Pool character. As Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni's legal battles continue, and child, they are going to continue because I think the court date has been issued for next March. So that means that there's a whole bunch of, well, first we got to get through these motions to dismiss. And because let me see. The judge has, I believe, 4. So we have the PR firm did a motion to dismiss from the lawsuit. Blake Lively did a motion to dismiss from the lawsuit, the part of the lawsuit where Justin Baldoni is suing them. Ryan Reynolds has asked to be dismissed from the lawsuit. So he has to review those. He has to go through and review those motions. And so that's going to take a minute because there's at least 3 of them that are on there. All right. It ends with us legal saga wages on. And if I did not mention before, all of this stemmed from a movie called It End Was Up, written by Colin Hoover, who it was starring Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. Justin Baldoni was the director. The issue and the problem that happened is slowly but surely, Blake Lively was using her connections, using her things to possibly be able to take over the movie, and then to try to pit Justin Baldoni as that she was harassed. She was all of these different things. There was a whole lot of stuff going on. And if you're not familiar and you want to be familiarized, go back down my celebrity legal news playlist. I've got all that information in regards to Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively. We kind of go over the lawsuits that were filed. We go over all of that other information, and you'll get much more background information. But right now, I just wanted to give you clarity on where all of this was coming from. And excuse me, the allergies are kicking and they're messing with my throat right now. So it says here, Marvel has requested to be removed from the case in which Justin accuses Blake's husband, Ryan Reynolds, of creating the Deadpool and Wolverine character Nice Pool to bully him. All right. Now there are other scenes in this Deadpool and Wolverine movie that have hints of Ryan Reynolds taking shots at Justin Baldoni, and one of them is you remember when the bald-headed woman. Xavier's twin sister from the womb, uh, she was uh, she was putting her hands through Deadpool's head, and he kept saying, "Oh my gosh, I didn't consent to this. Where is the intimacy coordinator?" And if you just listened to that, you wouldn't have known what was going on. However, hindsight is always 2020. We start to understand now that part of the issue of that lawsuit between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni has issues to do with an intimacy coordinator. Blake Lively is saying that the Wayfarer Studios didn't protect her privacy, and all of this other stuff, didn't have the intimacy coordinator. It's a whole lot of, again, go back through my playlist. You'll definitely see all that information. So, in a letter submitted to Judge Lewis Lyman, who was over the case, on April 25th, the company asked the court to quash the subpoena issued to Marvel by Justin's company, Wayfarer Parties, and issue a protective order prohibiting the disclosure of Marvel's confidential documents by any party or other non party in this action, according to the court documents. We're definitely going to go over that court document um, because that's going to be interesting. Because again, Marvel doesn't want all of that stuff out there. And we know Marvel doesn't want that stuff out there. So let's see what Justin Baldoni's camp says. Says here, Justin Baldoni hits back at Marvel for requesting removal from Blake Lively's lawsuit. This was written by Ryan Hudges for Us Weekly. Baldoni's lawyer submitted a letter to Judge Lyman on Monday, April 20th, opposing Marvel's motion to quash the Wayfarer's subpoena and for protection order. In the letter obtained by Us Weekly, Baldoni's team alleged that Marvel did not meet and confer with us in a good faith effort to resolve this dispute. This is referencing a claim from the company's letter. On April 2nd, Marvel sent Wayfarer a letter containing its objections to the subpoena, in which the same objections set forth in the recent letter motion. Baldoni's lawyers alleged on April 7th, 2025, my office met and conferred with Marvel's counsel via telephone about the objections. And although we attempted in good faith to address Marvel's purported concerns about confidentiality and relevancy, Marvel's counsels interrupted us, refusing to engage in that discussion. So again, all this is just good pieces of good lawyering going back and forth. So let's do it. All right. So here is a copy of the letter, and we're going to read this letter to see what's going on and what they want quashed. It's written on April 25th. It was e-filed to the Honorable Lewis Lyman regarding the Lively v. Wayfarer Studios, LLC, ETL case number 24CV 10049, motion to quash for a protective order to protect non-party confidential documents. Because what's happening is there's so many eyes on this Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively case. Partly, Marvel doesn't want to get involved in all of that. And I don't blame them. I truly don't blame them. However, they are now having to look at the issue of what are they going to be doing with Ryan Reynolds, because he's in part of a lawsuit, and this lawsuit is pulling out all the stuff that he has done in regards to Deadpool and Wolverine, and particularly to his writing. And I don't know who he collabed with, what was said, how all of that was going on. I don't know who all the writers were. Let's see if we can look that up real quick. Give me one moment. I just got to move some stuff around. All right. What I'm doing is looking up the people who wrote. So you got writers for Deadpool and Wolverine. Ryan Reynolds, Rhett Reese, Paul Wernick, Zeb Wells, Sean Levy. And here's one of the things that's interesting. I believe it's Rhett Reese was when this Baldoni Wayfarer it ends with us saga started. We it was revealed that one of the I think it was Rhett Reese, one of the writers and then one of the producers on this show with Ryan Reynolds, went over and was hired by Blake Lively to go over to It Ends With Us to do some things over there. So there's a lot of enmeshment and intertwining of these people in different things. So I remember that particular name, this Rhett Reese, but Ryan Reynolds wrote on that show. All right. It says here, this firm represents non-party Marvel Entertainment. We write pursuant to Federal Rules of Civil Procedures 26 and 45, Rule 4C of Your Honor's individual practices and paragraph and federal wait a minute, individual practices and paragraph 10 of the protective order to request that the court one quash the subpoena issued to Marvel from the Wayfarer parties, and two, issue a protective order prohibiting the disclosure of Marvel's confidential documents by any party or other non-parties in this action. Alternatively, Marvel requests that the court stay the return date of the subpoena and related documents request until after the court decides the pending motions to dismiss of the counterclaims of the defendant Ryan Reynolds. And remember before I told you that he had filed a a motion to dismiss. So they're wanting that they want basically they don't want to be able to provide any documents until they know whether or not that the judge is going to dismiss this case. The subpoena concerns the creation and development of one of the characters in Marvel's film Deadpool Wolverine. Marvel is aware that the Wayfarer parties have served documents requests for the same documents from Reynolds. As discussed more fully below, the requested documents are proprietary and highly confidential, and the disclosure is likely to substantially harm Marvel. That's an interesting statement, to substantially harm Marvel. How? Furthermore, the documents are irrelevant to the claim in this case. The disclosure of these documents would be improper and inconsistent with federal rules. So then they get into some background. It said Deadpool, background regarding Marvel and Deadpool, Wolverine, and the allegations at issue. Deadpool and Wolverine is a film produced by Marvel Studios, LLC, a subsidiary of Marvel. Reynolds is one of the writers of the film and stars as the titular character, Deadpool. The film was released in July of 2024. It is the third in a series of Deadpool films and is the 34th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, an ongoing series of interconnected films and television shows following Marvel characters and stories. Deadpool and Wolverine feature a number of different versions of the Deadpool character, including Lady Deadpool, who was voiced by Blake Lively, Dogpool, Kidpool, Headpool, and Nicepool. The Wayfarer parties make brief reference to Nicepool in their First Amended complaint. Specifically, they allege that Reynolds and Lively continue to leave breadcrumbs in their campaign for mocking and bullying Justin Baldoni by including Nicepool in Deadpool and Wolverine as a vicious caricature of Baldoni, and that scenes with Nicepool were intended to be a transparent and mocking portrayal of Reynolds' warped perception of Baldoni. And if you look at this Deadpool, if you're not familiar with the Justin Baldoni, parts of the thing is the way that Ryan Reynolds is wearing his hair as Deadpool. Let me the way that Ryan Reynolds is wearing his hair as Deadpool. the fact that Deadpool didn't have any powers, the fact that there was Dogpool, and Dogpool represented, in what we have kind of gathered as internet sleuths, that because part of the exchange between Nice Pool and Deadpool was the fact that there was this dog, and the dog was representing of the project of It Ends With Us. Excuse me. So we have those things. Let me see. I was trying to see if I could find that picture. Let's look at this. You see where you see this picture of the hair, and how, because Justin Baldoni wore his hair like this, and one of the issues, the things like that, is that he grew his hair out. Was it last year, year before last? Because he was donating his hair for the what is it, the for the cancer patients. Love of locks. I think that, I can't remember what the exact wording is for that, but that's what he was growing his hair out. He said that Justin defines himself as a feminist, and he didn't like that. I was trying to find. I had a picture. I don't know what happened to it, and I thought it was in this. Anyway, what I was trying to find to give you a visual about was not only about how he wore his hair, is that Deadpool his demise happened in front of a flower shop. That movie, It Ends With Us. The main character that Blake Lively played was a flower shop. So I don't see where that picture. I saw it one place and I thought I was keeping it, but it seems like it has evaded me, y'all. You know how you have all these tabs open trying to, you think that you're keeping up with some information, but you don't see it. Maybe it's in this one. Yeah. So if you look back over here in this section right here, this is before he meets his demise. There is a flower shop back there. Let's see if there is another picture. Now, these are some of the pictures of Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively on It Ends With Us. Yeah, that's not it. But it's pretty much near. You could see back there. And here is Dogpool. This is who they were arguing about. Anyway, let's get back to the lawsuit. The subpoena and documents request. The subpoena calls for the production of all documents and communications concerning the creation, development, modification, or portrayal of the character Nicepool from the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. It also calls for the production of all documents and communications concerning Baldoni. Marvel further understands from a notice provided by Reynolds that the RFP calls for Nicepool related to the documents from Reynolds. The requested documents should not be produced. On a motion to quash, parties issuing the subpoena must demonstrate that the information sought is relevant and material to the allegation and claims issued in the proceedings. Now, if you want to see where that comes up with, go to Ryan Reynolds' motion to dismiss, because Ryan Reynolds outlines that he wrote this stuff. He wrote it with a couple of people over there, that it was in fact that he was mocking him, because he felt like he said it's something to the effect that he was protecting his wife. She was bothering him, so therefore his level of protection was to mock a man in a movie. Mm-hmm. On a motion to quash, the party issuing the subpoena must demonstrate that the information sought is relevant and the material to the allegation and claims at the issuing in the proceedings, after which the burden shifts to the movement to demonstrate undue burden imposed by the subpoena. And it lists all the little different court cases that it cites. A court may quash a subpoena if it requires disclosing confidential research, development, or commercial information. So they don't want to have to talk about what went on in the writings room, who was okay with this particular character, why did they come up with this particular character, what research did they have to do to figure out this particular character, meaning did they go back to any of the podcasts that Justin Baldoni was on, meaning did they go over any types of words or thing, or was this something that Ryan Reynolds brought to the team and he just told them we're going to do this. So Justin Baldoni is wanting to know that information. Marvel is like because possibly what happened is that when they were creating this character, they were also talking about other different things that were going on in the creation of Deadpool and Wolverine. And that's the kind of information that they don't want to have to get out. Pursuant to the protective order in this case, a third party may seek a protective order or other relief from this court. When a party to the action is requested to produce discovery material that is subject to the contractual or other obligations of confidentiality owed to the third party, Lively versus Wayfarer Studios, a protective order prohibiting the production of documents is warranted where the request for documents exceeds the scope of discoverable information under Rule 26. Non-privileged matter that is relevant to any party's claim or defense and proportional to the needs of the case. So they're saying that they don't see, in my opinion, uh, this is too much. Them going over their process of how they come up with the character, when they came up with this character, how this character is woven into the plot, all of those things that they don't see is relevant to the lawsuit going over here with between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively. However, Justin Baldoni is also suing Ryan Reynolds. And Ryan Reynolds did admit in his motion to discovery that he created this character to mock Justin Baldoni. So Marvel is saying that, hey, we ain't got nothing to do with it. We don't want to be involved in any of this. This don't have anything to do with it. This has everything to do with Ryan Reynolds and his wife. You all getting that information may cause us undue harm because you're gonna have our competitors figuring out our writing processes and things like that, and what information that we use and where we get our information from, blase blase blah. The requested documents are neither relevant nor material. The documents at issue are irrelevant to the resolution of the claim asserted in this case. To survive the Wayfarer party's claim, Reynolds for defamation and false light must be based on false statements of fact, not merely ideas or opinion. Good point. See Farrakhan versus Anti-Defamation League. Expression of opinions. We don't want to go over all that. Come on, you. Plaintiff's false light claim is wholly duplicative of their harassment and defamation claims when premised on the exact same conduct, denying leave to amend. In their FAC, the Wayfarer parties allege that Nice Pool is a caricature and mocking portrayal based on Reynolds' perception of Baldoni, but identifying no false statement of fact. Consequently, the portrayal of Nice Pool is not actionable as defamation. Based on the Wayfarer party's allegation, Nice Pool is clearly a joke and not grounded in any factual basis. Tellingly, in their opposition to Reynolds' motion to dismiss, while the Wayfarer parties cite various allegations that purportedly support their defamation claim, they do not even mention Nice Pool. The requested documents are immaterial. The Wayfarer parties certainly have other less burdensome means through which they can obtain relevant information, if any exists, from the parties in action, such as requests for admission or party deposition. Hey, William, you thought everybody liked Nice Pool. They probably did, but they didn't realize underneath all of that Nice Pool character was Ryan Reynolds' passive aggressive way to mock Justin Baldoni. No one understood or knew where that character came from. And that particular character was written in because the person who killed Nice Pool was Lady Pool. Because if you go back, because there's a whole lot of dialogue in there about Nice Pool is talking about Lady Pool and all this other stuff, and who played Lady Pool, who voiced the voice of Lady Pool. That was Blake Lively. That was Ryan Reynolds' wife. So it's a lot of there's a lot of subtext and things going on. Yes, he was being quite messy, very passive aggressive. And again, it's my understanding that if you go back through a lot of movies where Ryan Reynolds has had the opportunity to write or produce or anything like that, if he doesn't like you for whatever reason, if he feels for whatever reason he doesn't like you, he'll do because so there's two TJ Millers from what I understand that played in that you had the TJ Miller that was the director, and then you had the TJ Miller that played the bartender in Deadpool, the original Deadpool. It's something that this man said or did, then he goes into this monologue using stuff from this man's personal thing and just digging and digging and digging at him. And then he wants to make it like, oh, I was just joking. No, you meant it. He wasn't joking. So go back to that. And even the woman, from what I understand, that played his girlfriend, there were issues and problems with her to where she didn't even want to come back to the Deadpool franchise. So Ryan has, from what we're understanding from different things, he has a very nice nastiness about him. So it's a whole lot, a whole lot of. They're saying that the documents. I've read all that. The documents are proprietary and confidential, and the disclosure would harm Marvel. Even assuming the requested documents are relevant and material, the court should still prohibit their disclosure because the requests are unduly burdensome and they seek highly proprietary and confidential documents, the disclosure of which would harm Marvel. The subpoena request sweep broadly demanding all documents about a character in a major film and all documents concerning an actor from seemingly anyone related to Marvel. These requests necessarily call for the production of draft scripts, production notes, and other documents relating to the development of the film. Courts recognize that documents relating to the development of a creative work are confidential and deserving of protection. The requested documents are particularly sensitive because they relate to the development of a character in an ongoing movie franchise. Now, that character died, so that character would not be ongoing in this movie franchise. But let's continue. He was given an unceremonious death, with Lady Pool putting using a pew pew to prune him from the timeline. Marvel has built the success of the MCU in large part by interconnecting storylines, plots, and characters across its titles, including crossover events and sequels. Whether and how such elements will appear in upcoming unreleased projects is the subject of much public interest, and this information is closely guarded by Marvel. Okay. Marvel's confidentiality concerns are heightened because, as this court has observed, the details of this case has been closely followed by the media. The parties have accused opposing parties of providing private, sensitive, or confidential information to the media in ways that cannot be easily traced. And where confidential information is not disclosed to the media, it may spread by gossip and innuendo, which is the craziest thing to me, because Marvel leans into all this gossip and innuendo by all this leak culture, with all these people leaking all of this information and set things and all of this other stuff. They lean into that. All these different things are like us content creators are clearly in the middle of getting all this information and pulling all this information. So they lean into it when they want to lean into it, and then they don't when they. Because again, this is a character, this was one of those throwaway characters that had an unceremonious death on the show. So what, pray tell, is this character going to be doing in the ongoing saga of the multiverse? Even if the requested documents are produced with the highest level of confidentiality permitted by the protective order, there remains serious risk that they will be disclosed to the public. Of course, because y'all over there at Marvel leak like a sieve. As soon as you put those things out there, honey, somebody over there, and we're gonna see any one of uh, these spoiler channels that's gonna put out what you sent out over there, because you all don't have your house in order. The requested documents are not relevant to any claim in this case, and their disclosure would cause substantial harm to Marvel. Marvel respectfully requests that the court quash the subpoena and prohibit the disclosure of the nice pool related documents requested in the RFP. In the alternative, disclosure should be stayed pending determination of mentions of Reynolds' motion to dismiss. So basically, they're just saying that even that they're saying that they shouldn't even begin to ask to start to do this until the judge rules on Reynolds' motion to dismiss. Because if they dismiss Reynolds from the case, then any documents or anything like that won't be necessary. So they want to be able to reserve any kind of motion until the judge um, rules on that. And I guess here we just have here's a subpoena by Brian Friedman, and Brian Friedman is Justin Baldoni's lawyer. And it just goes over the subpoena. We're not going to go over there. It just goes over what they're asking for. We're not going to go over there because we know what they're saying. They wanted all documents and communications and everything concerning that character and how they came up with that particular character. They're wanting any and all production notes. They want it all in terms of what's going on with. They want everything and what's going on with Nice Pool, Mr. Nice Pool. So those are the things that they're looking for. Those are the things that they're wanting. And so I wanted to come back and go over that because, you know, my Marvel people who follow me for some of my Marvel information, quite interested in this, you know, quite interested to see what's going on. And again, if you're following me from there and you know this particular case is of no interest to you, that's cool. But one of the things that we're looking at this particular case, this Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively case, and why it's of such interest is how Hollywood is going to do business from now on, in particularly on how actors, companies, uh, like Marvel and all these people, what can their PR team do and what can their PR team not do? We're going to see there's going the relationships between PR firms and their clients, whether it be an actor, whether it be a singer, whether it be a corporation or whatever, how what is going to be the practice going forward and how, because now everything is nasty and a free for all and you can go and get information because you're working for your client, and if your client needs certain types of information, PR information, or to change the narrative in the zeitgeist of social media, PR teams are very well equipped. Crisis management teams are very well equipped to do that. Uh, you'll notice that when you hear a story, you can tell who's controlling the narrative of the story by how stories are being placed on Google, on any of your search engines looking for these things. The biggest search engine that people use to find information about anybody is Wikipedia. So there are people who will go to Wikipedia because anybody can update Wikipedia, I'm finding out. And you know, it's about keywords, putting keywords in there. You know, so if you have a keyword of abuse that's in your thing, if you go into Wikipedia and change all those words into something else, someone who's written an article and used that word, that article is not going to come up at the top of the page of your search page. It'll probably go down there in the middle. And if you're anybody who's reviewing something like that, just average, you're going to look at the first two or three documents, and then you're going to read those, and then you're going to form your opinion in regards to those first three or four documents. But also, what's scary is that if those first, because now anybody can, any blogger can put up a blog post, someone like me, a content creator, I can do this video. It'll come, if I put the right keywords or things like that in there, it will come up. And so people have been known to manipulate social media or social media content via Google, via Wikipedia. But anyway, what do y'all think about this? What do y'all think about Marvel asking to be released? Do you think do you think the judge will release them? I do think it has everything to do, as Marvel has stated, they're going to have to wait. It is not a wrong request to ask the judge to wait, uh, that to rule on this after he does his motion, after they go over Ryan Reynolds' motion to dismiss. If, like I said, if Ryan Reynolds' motion to dismiss is granted, then there really is no need for Marvel to give up any information, because without Ryan Reynolds, Justin Baldoni, about what's going on over there, unless Justin Baldoni wants to sue Marvel, but I don't see where any of that is. I'm just trying to think. I don't know if he has a case on that or not, because all the pundits are saying that Justin Baldoni's case for the New York Times is kind of weak because they've been sued, but they've never lost this case. And I just saw here last week, um, the former governor of the former governor of Alaska, Sarah Palin, lost her lawsuit against the New York Times. So I don't know if Justin Baldoni will be more successful with the New York Times, or not. However, all of this is interesting to me. And like I said, Marvel is in it because passive aggressive, in my opinion, uh, Ryan Reynolds put the man in the as a character, or caricature of Justin Baldoni in the Deadpool Wolverine movie, which to me was unnecessary. You didn't even have there was no need for, if you look at that story, there was no need for that character to have that much attention in the story. Could that whole story have gone without that nice pool character? Absolutely. Because honestly, now that I understand what's going on, there's another character, another Marvel character who is actually in the Marvel comics, who is actually in Marvel's whole universe, could have been used in that position. Just a me thing. But anyway, tell me what y'all think about this and let me know down in the comments below. All right, people. We do this every week. Just to recap, Marvel is asking that the subpoena to just have all the documents dealing with the creation, the production, and then putting him on film of the Nice Pool character in the Deadpool Wolverine movie. They're asking for that information to be quashed, and that they be released from this Justin Baldoni um, and Ryan Reynolds lawsuit, because they're saying that the releasing of this information could harm Marvel, because other people will know their whole process about how they write their character, what they do, blah, 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 blah. Which in turn, they are a company and they have a right to do that. But we're just going to see what's going to happen in regards to that. All right, people. We do this every week. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video if you care. Y'all, please tell a friend, tell a kin, tell a coworker, tell that heifer that you can't stand that I'm over here making these videos. And as always, people, bye bye.